How's it going, guys? My name's Wilson. We all know some of the best young players in the world under the age of 25 will one day be the face of the NBA. Giannis is by far the best player on the list at 24 years old. If he ever develops a jumper, he can end up being one of the all-time greats. There's been a couple recent lottery picks in the past who's been an absolute travesty. Some of them just aren't as good, but others have the chance to become multiple-time All-Stars but will never live up to their expectations. Here are 6 young NBA players under the age of 25 who will never live up to their full potential.
Andrew Wiggins. It's more than likely Minnesota will forever regret giving Wiggins a 5-year, almost $150 million contract. Crazy to say, Wiggins is already on verge of completing his 5th season, has not lived up to expectations, has been a disaster. At this rate, his career is looking more and more like a disappointment. His inconsistency on both ends of the floor is hurting his team big time. With his team still having little hope in trying to fight for the 8th spot, the 6'8 shooting guard has continuously declined since his max contract. Shooting under 40% from the field, it seems obvious now why Jimmy Butler was upset with the Wolves, with Wiggins being a huge reason why, called him out on his lack of passion and desire to win. Andrew was supposed to be the Robin to Towns being Batman. Cat is on his way to superstardom, playing the best ball of his career after Butler's departure, while Wiggins hasn't increased his production, still makes many defensive mistakes, doesn't demand for the ball, and still often stands in the corner. Had a terrible 0 of 12 shooting in a November game against the Bulls, played 28 minutes, scored 0 points, even took a shot of his team's fans after hearing boos while missing 2 free throws in overtime against the Hawks in December. Very unclutch at the end of games, was 10 of 26 from the line in the final 5 minutes of games, where the score was within 5 points as of February 28th. Back in high school, Wiggins was considered the next big thing, called Mabel Jordan, had an insanely high ceiling, and was even called the best high school player since LeBron. Had all the hype and potential, failing to translate to the NBA. This season alone, Wiggins isn't even a top 3 player on his team. Towns, Robert Covington, and Derrick Rose have all been way better. His lack of hunger, desire to be the best version of himself will end up being a wasted talent. He's still only 24 years old and has all-star potential with a chance to make multiple all-star teams, but it's more than likely he'll never become an all-star. You can see his lack of focus when he took off his warm-ups and realized he forgot to put on his jersey. Everyone knows Wiggins can score only when he plays hard. At 6'8 with an insanely explosive frame, he doesn't rebound, doesn't facilitate, barely put on weight since his rookie season. The Wolves will have a lot of pressure to keep Wiggins happy because no team will be interested in trading for his ridiculous contract combined with his lack of production. The future of Andrew Wiggins is not looking very bright unless he puts in the work. 5 years ago, you would think Andrew Wiggins would be a top 15 player by now, but he's not even top 60. Jabari Parker. After a disappointing start to his career, touring his ACL twice, Parker doesn't seem to be as explosive, and the star player many projected him to be, like a Paul Pierce or a Carmelo Anthony type offensive player, he's nowhere close to being the same player he was in his 3rd season, where he averaged over 20 points a game before going down with injury. His career averages of 15 points on 49% shooting ain't bad, but he's nowhere close to meeting expectations. You know it's a bad sign when the team who drafted Parker as the 2nd overall pick let him walk away for nothing in free agency. Could have been the difference maker in last year's playoffs against Boston. Scored 2 points in game 1, 0 in game 2, single digits in game 6 and 7, and that team now without him has the best record in the East with no distractions. The worst thing he could have possibly said was admitting he doesn't even play defense. It came back to bite him when the dysfunctional Bulls benched him. His biggest issue, he's a good scorer, but not good enough of a scorer to make up for his major defensive flaws. Still has a spotty perimeter shot and a scary injury history. Parker will likely end up bouncing from team to team throughout his career, come off the bench, play 25 minutes a game, and never live up to the all-star player he was supposed to be. Dante Exum. Drafted 5th overall in the 2014 draft, Utah knew what they were getting when they signed Exum up for 3 years worth $33 million last summer. Although the 6'6 point guard continues to occasionally show flashes of his potential, with his pesky defense, his inconsistency and injury takes him 2 steps back. It's hard to label him as a bust this early, still being 23 years old, but injury certainly derailed his development. Missed all of his 2nd season with a torn ACL, was just limited to just 14 regular season games last year after separating his shoulder in the preseason. Now being paid and viewed as a veteran, Exum's still not a good outside shooter, hasn't played a game since January 5th, missing his last 23 games and counting, has been averaging less and less minutes every season with little detail when he will return. It's been a very frustrating career for Dante Exum so far, missing nearly half his games due to injury. The Jazz will need him healthy to produce in the playoffs if they plan to make it far. Sadly, his body seems to betray him every time he seems to be making progress. Jahlil Okafor, known for his terrible defense and lack of rebounding as a traditional big, on the verge of getting bounced from the league in only his 4th season, the 23-year-old might have saved his career after Anthony Davis went down late January, giving Jahlil an opportunity to start, average 18.2 points over a 9-game stretch, showing his post moves and creating a comeback story, having 4 games of putting up over 20 points, 10 rebounds, showing his excellent skills down low. He's been one of the only bright things to happen for the Pelicans all season, but has cooled off over the last month, still having many flaws in his game, especially with his slow movement on defense and not capable of being a stretch 5 in today's NBA. I don't see Okafor being a starting caliber center for the near future. Will likely continue to play 15 to 25 minutes a game with many liabilities. Jahlil would have been able to max out his full potential if he played 15-20 seasons ago in the half-court game on a bad team similar to an Al Jefferson caliber player. Unfortunately, because of how the game has changed, we won't be seeing many Okafor post moves in the near future, since he's nothing more than just a role player who's not a game changer, likely won't get much playing time throughout his career. Markelle Fultz, who's likely done for the remainder of the 2018-19 season, had as bad a start as any former #1 overall pick in recent memories. At least the Magic have nothing to lose. Fultz was only a distraction in Philly, played a combined 33 games over his first 2 seasons, still had issues shooting the ball, appearing to lose all confidence on his jumper, dealing with shoulder issues since the start of his rookie season. Most would think Fultz would fully be recovered by now and leave his nightmarish first season behind. Orlando should be a fresh start, leading to many directions Fultz's career path can go. Either he becomes the league's biggest comeback story, be an okay player, and at worst case scenario, a bust. Fultz was a beast in college, averaged 23, 6 and 6 at the University of Washington. Although there's a lot to be optimistic about, his injuries have seriously took a toll on him mentally. Viewed as a Brandon Roy, James Harden type caliber player coming into the draft, still only 20 years old, at this time he's supposed to develop all parts of his game, and if he has the same injury issues next season, it'll be very hard to see him ever being a star player. Michael Porter Jr., who remains the biggest unknown this season, likely to sit out the whole year, was the best high school prospect in the country until Marvin Bagley reclassified, drew comparisons to the likes of Kevin Durant and Giannis, was able to play through some minor injuries then, but his injury problems have scared many teams away. Playing only 3 games at college, having a back injury that prevented him from developing, needed surgery. 7 days before the draft, Porter didn't work out during a second scheduled pro day due to a hip injury, leading to many concerns heading into draft day, whether his back injuries were transferring down to his hip and then to his lower legs and so on. It was clear Porter could go anywhere in the draft from number 2 onward, with DeAndre Ayton a lock for the #1 pick. He fell all the way to 14, needed a second surgery on his spine mid-July, keeping him out this long. Porter technically missed his last 2 seasons being on the court. Although he should be back to full strength next season, he's still at risk for the same injury. Knowing back injuries are some of the worst for an athlete, especially having 2 major surgeries before even playing a single NBA game, just like Fultz, Porter can become the all-star player he was projected to be, or a bust who makes very little impact, hampered by injuries early on. Thankfully, the Nuggets are a great team with or without Porter. Even if Porter turns out to be a great player, I doubt he'll ever reach his full potential and will have to be extremely cautious for the rest of his career. I didn't mention guys like Mario Hezonja, Stanley Johnson, Marquise Chris, or Dragon Bender, cause I never thought they were going to be good NBA players in the first place. Honorable mentions includes Harry Giles and Justin Patton. Giles, who's come a long way from his knee injuries, having multiple surgeries, but has shown flashes of being a very good role player with Sacramento. Patton, who was selected 16 overall in the 2017 draft, was traded to the Wolves alongside Jimmy Butler, only played 1 game so far, suffered a joint fracture in his left foot the summer after getting drafted, played a lot in the G League, needed second surgery in April, and then broke the same bone, this time on his right foot in September, was once again involved in the Butler trade to the Sixers, seems to be healthy for now.
Which other young players that I haven't mentioned under the age of 25 do you think will never live out to their full potential? Thank you so much for watching this video. I talk NBA comparisons, amazing storylines, NBA history, and anything basketball that will interest you. If you love the NBA, subscribe for more content, more great stuff coming soon. I love all of you. See you next time.